welcome to the first episode of CareCast. I'm your host, Gurpreet Randhawa, and I am a healthcare leader, educator, and change practitioner from Victoria, BC. I'm so excited to be bringing this new podcast to you. CareCast is a fun-free, first-of-its-kind healthcare leadership learning initiative that uses social learning to encourage and support healthcare workers from patient bedside to the corporate office in developing leadership capabilities, fostering an innovative spirit, accessing wellness resources, and connecting and networking with colleagues to share ideas and experiences, stories, and also to learn key leadership concepts. And today we will be talking about work-life balance. It is definitely a highly sought after personal and professional goal for many people. And with the pandemic, the lines between work and life have increasingly blurred. However, there are colleagues who I have seen, had the pleasure of seeing, who just do an incredible job of role modeling what is work-life balance. And one of those colleagues is Sarah Crawford Bohl. And Sarah, it is such an honor to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor that you invited me to join you.
Thanks, Sarah. So just a bit of background, Sarah is an executive director in clinical operations at Island Health. Her clinical operations portfolio includes Souk, West Shore, Saanich Peninsula, the Gulf Islands, as well as laboratory. So it's a really big portfolio, Sarah. And she has a Bachelor of Science in Nursing from the University of Victoria, as well as a Master of Arts in Leadership from Royal Roads University. She is a ProSci certified change practitioner and has a certificate in frontline leadership from UBC. Sarah has been working with Island Health for almost 21 years, and that includes clinical, operational, and strategic roles in a variety of settings. The majority of her career has been focused in acute care, as well as clinical education. Her specialization is in burn and complex wound care, clinical education, leadership, as well as clinical informatics. And most recently, she was the Director of Clinical Operations for the Royal Jubilee Hospital and South Island Intensive Care Services, and has also spent a fair bit of time as the Interim Executive Director for Quality, Safety, and Improvement Island-wide. Wow, it's a mouthful. It's wow, Sarah. Beyond just her bio too, she's just so passionate about people and her teams and leadership development, and is somebody who truly, for me, embodies and personifies inclusion and caring. And learning as well, whatever learning event, you're always at some sort of lifelong learning and leadership development event. And so I know that you love to learn, and you also love to support others in learning. And here you are supporting us in learning as well. On a personal front, Sarah, you are a first-generation Canadian white settler of Australian and Scottish heritage. Sarah was born in Calgary, but has spent most of her life on a farm on the Saanich Peninsula. She's married with 2 daughters, as well as a poodle cross named Jolene.
Gotta include the poodle.
Gotta include the poodle, absolutely. She loves to paddleboard, hike, ski, and is also an avid runner. Sarah is inspired by a focus on quality improvement, ensuring timely access, and optimal patient, family, and care team experiences. And just a fun fact, Sarah and I were office mates many years ago for a brief period, and I can tell you that she definitely brightens any room that she walks into. She's just
I love you. Thank you for that.
Vibrating energy and joy. So it's such a pleasure. Here we are, Sarah. Now we're socially distanced in a Zoom room and talking about work-life balance during a pandemic. So very interesting topic. And again, such a privilege to have you as our first guest as well on the podcast. And so very, very interested to hear about your perspective on work-life balance. and really to start off, what is work-life balance? What does it mean to you?
Well, thanks again for that very kind introduction, Gurpreet. So for me, when I think about work-life balance, it's really about having enough energy and happiness to perform well in both settings, both at work and at home. And it's easy for that balance to be tipped. And how I kind of measure around whether I'm seeing and feeling that work-life balance within myself is, do I show up at work and feel like I'm on fire? Like, do I feel like I've got this? I've got this day. I'm showing up as I intend in meetings. Am I handling myself in a way that I'm proud of? And same thing at home. Am I showing up? Am I getting home and feeling too exhausted to engage with my family, or am I showing up as the mom that I want to be, the wife, and the friend, and the daughter that I want to be? And if I start to feel that I'm not who I want to be in those two settings, that's when I know there's a problem. The balance is not there. So I think it's about having self-awareness and knowing yourself and being able to acknowledge when you're not being who you want to be in whatever setting it applies to.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Sarah. I think the key takeaway for me in your sharing was those self-awareness or self-reflection questions that you're constantly asking yourself. I'm curious, is there a certain time of the day that you take time to reflect on these questions? Is it like a morning or evening part of your routine, or throughout the day?
Yeah, I think it is throughout the day. I do, I think about it when I wake up in the morning, like, have I had enough sleep? Is now the time to stay in bed for a little longer and try and catch a bit more shut-eye, or do I need to get up and exercise? And then I think about it when I'm in meetings. I try and look for feedback clues. I try and ask for feedback around how I'm landing on people. And sometimes I can just feel it in my my belly, like and even on my face. If I'm showing up in a way that's not as intended, I can usually feel my face getting hot. I can feel a sensation in my belly that's like, oh, got to hold off. I got to step back for a minute. And then similarly, at the end of the day, if I get home and feel that exhaustion where I need, if I need maybe time to myself before engaging with my family, I know, I burnt it too much at work, because I want to be able to come home and and the Jolene, she wants to give me lots of loving when I get in through the door. The kids want to have a hug. I want to be able to be there for them in those moments. So if I'm not ready, that's again a check-in that, okay, today was maybe not in balance. And then same thing, am I falling asleep on the couch in front of the TV and not having a chat with my husband? Again, that's another check-in point.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for elaborating on that further and just sharing how you integrate those self-check moments into your day. That's great. So I'd love to know what your strategies are for maintaining work-life balance. So how do you do it, Sarah?
Well, sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't, Gurpreet. So I would say, the strategies that I try to use are I have strategies I use at home and strategies I use at work. And so if I start at home, because that's home is where the heart is, that's where the day starts. I have to figure out, for me, I have to be careful about fitting in both rest and exercise. And, when I get really busy, I often think I have to compromise on one or the other. And I've done some trials, I think, where I've thought that, okay, I'm going to just get a few extra minutes of sleep and skip out on the exercise, miss the exercise for the day. And for me, what I've learned about myself is that that's unfortunately often not the right thing for me. For me, I need to actually skip out on a bit of the exercise skip out on a bit of the sleep and fit in the exercise, because that gets me back into a routine in which I sleep better, and then I feel more likely to exercise, and on it goes. As well, I have to be, those two things, sleep and exercise, impact my diet. If I'm tired, I don't eat as well. And if I'm not exercising, I don't eat as well. So those two things are key pieces to other elements of my life. And then when it comes to diet, I'm quite careful with my diet. I'm a celiac, so I have to be careful anyways. But I make sure that I have to have a good breakfast. And people laugh at me a lot that I work with. I'm always eating. Someone said it to me earlier today, like, "Sarah, you're always eating." And I am a bit of a grazer. It takes me a while to eat a whole meal, so it sometimes carries over a few meetings to get my breakfast in. But nonetheless, that seems to work for me. Not too much caffeine. I only drink decaf. I have done for a long time, and since I had my first daughter and she's almost 13, I had to skip to decaf. I realized that it was a vicious cycle for me. Too much caffeine just made me crave more caffeine, and then I wasn't sleeping, and then I needed more caffeine. So decaf seems to help me with my balance. And then alcohol is another thing. I do like to have wine with my dinner. But something I'm trialing of late is to not have any wine during the week. And that seems to, I perform better at my exercise when I've not had wine the night before. But then, of course, when it's a Friday, which it is today, I get very excited to go home and have dinner and a nice glass of wine. So I just have to find it in the balance. At work, strategies for me I have to fit in thinking time. As I know you have a similar work life, Gurpreet, where we're constantly in Zoom meetings. I tend to be back to back in meetings all day long. And so I try and make sure I have blocks put into the calendar where it's time to just get some thinking time in. Maybe it's about getting some work done around completing deliverables that I've promised in other meetings. I have to make sure I have that time. And I really like to have a bit of that time in the morning and then at the end of the day so that I can clear my plate and come back in at the next day. I think those are my key strategies.
Mm-hmm. Very specific and helpful. Thank you for sharing that providing that personal insight and vulnerability in your secret sauce to work-life balance success. That's really helpful. Thank you.
I think I actually, not to take too long, but I think I forgot an important one, which is connection. I need to connect with people and have a laugh. And I do gain a lot from spending time, like we're doing today, having a chat, connecting with friends both at work and outside of work, where we can just, how are you? Sometimes jamming those in as meetings, just to have a walking meeting, to connect and find out what's going on in their world. I get a lot of energy out of those encounters.
I think you give out a lot of energy too. I know every interaction, it's like this sparkle. You just you infuse the energy. It just makes me just want to shout Sarah, and
Oh, well, sure, not always, but thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Just I'm feeling it right now. So I think that's a great segue actually into my next question around your teams and how do you support your teams to maintain their work-life balance?
I think that's a trickier one, because I think it is an individual journey for a lot of us around how we create our balance. I used to work with a fellow who gets up at 4 a.m. and fits in the exercise. And I don't think I would encourage that for everybody, but it's what works for him. But for me, I think as a leader, we need to think about supporting work-life balance in a different way. So historically, I think we've focused on the things that I just talked about, making sure people spend time with mindfulness and fit in rest and exercise and diet and those things. I think those are things that we have to be accountable for as an individual. And as a leader, I can support those things, by encouraging them, making sure that my team members aren't working long hours, checking in with them, tell me how many extra hours have you done this week, and encouraging them to take some of that time back and come in late tomorrow, block off some time, go home early, take a day off. I can do those things, but I think that we have to think about it in a different way as well. And there's some amazing research out there around resilience. And I think there's a strong linkage between resiliency and work-life balance. And so things I'm thinking about of late are, how do we support resiliency in the workplace that takes it beyond those standard questions and comments around rest and diet and time off, those kinds of things. And some of the exciting things I've read that seem to resonate with me, and perhaps I've seen some success with some of the team members that I work with, that's around looking at connection, creating connecting time, time for our team to get together and connect as a family. And, those would be one-on-ones with my key team members and direct reports. And in some cases, it's, I have a broader monthly meeting with my team where we get together and we make sure there's a topic for learning. Because I think sometimes learning, for many of us, feeds the soul. You get inspired to get an idea and think, oh, okay, I've filled my cup a bit. So we try and include a topic around leadership development in those team meetings. And the topic coming up this month is resiliency, which is why it's on my mind. I also think that in terms of that connecting piece, giving and receiving feedback often helps to fill the cup and help people to be resilient, making sure, and it can't, of course, just be the critical feedback around what you want to see done differently, but taking the opportunity to give appreciation and tell people what they're doing well. Fan the flame of helping people see where their opportunities are and where they're really shining brightly. So I think taking those opportunities to thank people for the work that they're doing in a very authentic way, where you're speaking specifically to a specific piece of feedback, something that individual has done. And I guess the last one that comes up is, and you hear that a lot, is about humor, and not everybody finds the same thing funny, but how do you make sure that sometimes it's about pointing fun at myself, in a healthy way, and I don't want to cut myself down, but allow people to share vulnerabilities, talk about the things that I might historically have kept secret or embarrassed to share because it feels like I don't want people to see my underbelly, the things I'm perhaps not proud of. But interestingly, those are the things that provide, I think, a release for others. Oh gosh, thank goodness I'm not the only one. Thank goodness you've got those thoughts, or you do that thing, or your hair's not perfect, or you wore the wrong shoes. I wore slippers to work one day accidentally. Talking about those things though.
You're human.
Right. And so I think taking the opportunity to be vulnerable and use that as a source for humor really helps.
Oh, yes. And I think laughter is probably your middle name. So laughter, joy. It's incredible what that brings into the environment, into the culture, and just how it can really change a moment, right? So
and it can be a moment. It's amazing what a moment can do to be fueling. Talking about a story from the heart, and just to help people connect to why we're here, and why you are here, why we are here as a team, why I am here.
Sarah, thank you so much for this incredibly special moment of connection, for your precious time, and for sharing your wisdom with us today. This is just fantastic. I also just want to thank the Vancouver Island Canadian College of Health Leaders chapter for really helping to support and plan this new podcast offering, especially my colleagues Lindsay Brooks and Jordan Carlson. I'd also want to give a huge thank you to all of our listeners and viewers for taking the time to listen in. And I want to leave everyone with a question for reflection. What is one thing that you can do right now that would create the most impact on your well-being? Sarah's shared a number of her personal tips and tricks that I challenge you to also think of, just even one small little thing that could help to support your well-being. And I want to invite you all to also join us on the CareCast LinkedIn discussion to help continue this conversation on work-life balance, and also to suggest any other topics you'd like to see us discuss in our next episode. So until next time, stay safe and be well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gurpreet.
Thank you, Sarah.